She said 3 words. The doctor called 911. It was just past 3 p.m. at the downtown hospital. The corridor outside the emergency ward hummed with quiet routine. Nurses moved between rooms. Monitors beeped steadily, and the fluorescent lights buzzed above like always. Nothing seemed unusual until the gasp that a security guard at the front entrance froze, his eyes locked on the sliding doors. A small black girl, no older than 11, stepped barefoot into the hallway. She wore a pale, pink dress that clung awkwardly to her belly, stretched tight and fraying at the seams. Trembling, arms wrapped around her midsection, she looked around with wide, terrified eyes behind the front desk. A young nurse rose to her feet. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" she called, rushing toward her. The girl didn't answer. She took 2 shaky steps forward, then stopped. Her chest heaved. Her fingers clawed at her dress. She whimpered, a soft, desperate sound that silenced the hall doctor. Helen Marshall, a pediatric specialist, had just stepped out a nearby room when she saw the scene. Instinct kicked in. She rushed over and caught the girl as her knees buckled. "Oh my God," Helen murmured, feeling the child's swollen abdomen. It wasn't soft like pregnancy. It felt wrong. Tense. Overfilled. The girl looked up, eyes glassy with fear. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered 3 words. "It's still moving." Helen blinked. "What?" The girl repeated, barely audible. "It's still moving inside me." Something cold settled in Helen's chest. This wasn't a hallucination. The girl wasn't confused. She was warning them. "Call 911, Helen barked, spinning toward the nurse's station. "But Dr. Marshall, we're in a hospital, I know." "Call anyway. This isn't just medical. This is criminal." The order broke the paralysis. Nurses scattered. A gurney was rushed in. One nurse called pediatric trauma. Another called the police. As the girl was gently lowered onto the gurney, she screamed in pain, her belly visibly twitching. Helen knelt beside her. "What's your name? Where are your parents?" The girl sobbed. "I don't know. They told me not to talk." Whoever they were, they hadn't just abandoned her. They'd used her. Inside the trauma room, the team moved quickly. IVs, heart monitors, ultrasound. Helen stayed by the girl's side, whispering comfort. The scan began, and then silence. No one moved. On the monitor wasn't a fetus. It wasn't a tumor. It was dozens of cylindrical objects packed tightly between organs. Implants, not swallowed. Surgically inserted. That Helen's stomach turned. She grabbed the landline herself. 911. "What's your emergency?" "This is Dr. Helen Marshall at St. Jude's. We have an 11-year-old girl. She's been surgically implanted with what we believe are drug capsules. I need law enforcement and child protection immediately." In the operating room, the girl was prepped as fast and gently as possible. Her vitals were unstable, shock setting in, fever climbing, blood pressure falling. One rupture would be fatal. Helen scrubbed in. As the girl lay still beneath the surgical lights, Helen took a breath. Scalpel. Layer by layer, the child's abdomen was opened, and the full horror was revealed. Gasps echoed through the room. The capsules, wrapped in latex, sealed at both ends, were nestled between organs, not placed with care. One pressed dangerously against the intestine, another wedged behind the liver. She could have died in her sleep, someone whispered. They kept going. Capsule after capsule, each slick with fluids filled with what looked like heroin or fentanyl. 21, 22, 23. Still more. 46, 47. Finally, 51 in total, Helen wiped her brow. Her hands trembled. Someone turned this little girl into a container. As the team began closing the incision, they irrigated and treated internal damage. Her vitals were stable for now. Helen studied the girl's chart. No ID, no variance, no birth certificate under the name she gave. Nothing. She's a ghost, said the anesthesiologist. Helen shook her head. No, she's a survivor. Recovery. Hours later, the girl opened her eyes. Helen was there. Is it gone? The girl asked, her voice barely a whisper. Helen nodded. It's all gone. You were so brave. Tears rolled down the girl's face. I didn't know what it was. They said I'd get candy. Then I woke up and it hurt. They told me to stay quiet or I'd disappear. Helen's fists clenched behind her clipboard. Who told you that? The girl shook her head. A man. But big glasses. He took me to a building with trucks. Then he left. Smuggling. Cargoruts. They had used her to transport drugs, assuming no one would ever search a child, until the pain became unbearable, but the girl hadn't run away. She had run toward help. WY morning. The news broke. 11-year-old girl implanted with 51 drug capsules. Police investigating international smuggling ring. Her identity was protected, but Helen made sure her story was heard. She didn't run from danger, Helen told the press, choking back emotion. She ran toward help, and this time, someone listened. Federal authorities took over the case. Footage of the suspect was pulled. A manhunt began, but more importantly, the girl was safe. Not just medically, truly safe. That night, Helen sat beside her again. She was asleep, peaceful for the first time. I'm sorry they used you, Helen whispered. But I swear, no one will ever use you again. She looked at the chart still labeled Jane Doe, but Helen had another name in mind. Hope, because no matter what they put inside her, what came out was the strength to survive.